Welcome back to Red Horn Society, y'all. I want to introduce y'all to a very close friend of mine. This is Dave Calley from Halley, Joe Kapusinski here from Red Horn Society. There's a particular topic that I'd like to go over today with y'all that I like to title Firearm Etiquette. There's a lot of people today in the firearm community who, thank God, they want to get behind their Second Amendment right and own firearms and things of that nature. However, they don't know the etiquette about picking out a particular firearm or going to a particular store and knowing how to jogging back and forth with that particular retailer so that retailer knows that they know their stuff and things of that nature. Now, basically, I've been hearing a lot of rhetoric back and forth with people around town and people that I come in contact with that say, oh, well, when I go to this particular gun store, they treat me like a dick, or they're not very nice, and they're not sales oriented or what have you. But you got to remember, at the end of the day, gun retailers are a little bit nervous. You know, you're handling a firearm. You're not handling a soccer ball or a golf club or something of that nature. You're handling something that can, in fact, take somebody's life in the hands of somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
You know, that makes sense now, Joe. I was wondering why I wasn't getting good customer service, and I think I understand. So go ahead, sir.
Absolutely. So basically what I'm trying to say is I want to introduce to y'all today something that was introduced to me at a very young age. Dave, he's in his first year of gun ownership, thank God.
First month.
He just bought his first 9mm a couple of weeks ago, and he's on his way to proper gun ownership and now knows the responsibility it takes to own that particular firearm. And that's what I want to go over with y'all. When I was a young child growing up, I had people in my life that introduced me to certain things about owning firearms and handling firearms, that when I do go to a firearm retailer, they know that right off the bat, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm looking at, and I know how to treat their firearm prematurely to my purchase of that particular firearm. And that's some of the things I want to go over with you today. Now, Dave, I want to go over a typical scenario that a lot of these gun retailers are going to face today of somebody who comes into their particular store who doesn't know exactly what they're doing. Let's go ahead and set up the scenario where you're going to look at a handgun.
Could play that part well. All right. Let's see here. Mind if I take a look at that gun right there, sir?
Yeah, here, let me go ahead and make sure it's not loaded.
Okay.
Here you go, sir.
Thank you.
It's USB 45.
That's nice. Ooh. Huh. Is it loaded?
Whoa! Goodness gracious, son.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Have you ever handled a firearm before?
No, sir.
Now, how many of y'all today have been in that particular scenario where you feel that way when you go into a particular firearm store and somebody hands you a firearm and that might have been the reaction? Because I'm not going to say that might not be a reaction that somebody might not have towards you. Let's go ahead and go over something that would normally be that particular way.
Mind if I take a look at that handgun right there, sir?
Oh, yes, sir. The USB 45?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and check the magazine. Here you are, sir.
I think it's not loaded. Okay. Wow, that's a nice gun. Alright, so just do that.
You're more than welcome to cycle action, sir.
Okay. Huh. Nice gun.
And that's typically how somebody would handle a firearm throughout a particular retail arms firearm transaction. Let me go ahead and take you to the next step, Dave. If you will, you go ahead and be the retailer, and I'll be the particular Samaritan. Sir, is that a USB 45 by chance?
It sure is.
Would you mind if I take a look at it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Much obliged. In the open position, see, typically whenever somebody offers you a firearm, they're going to make sure that it's in the action-back position so that you can visually inspect it to make sure it's not loaded. Now, we know whenever we handle firearms that they're going to be in a safe manner and things of that nature. However, you do want to do a visual inspection. Stick your finger in the pipe, perhaps. Make sure it's not loaded. Whenever you do go to make sure that you let go of the slide, you ask permission. Sir, do you mind if I cycle the action?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
By that time, you're going to let it down slowly. If it's in a single action, double action formation, you're going to make sure that the hammer is to the decocked position. And then if you actually want to take sights down the barrel, you might aim to a particular position that nobody is going to be present. This position by chance. Take an aim up there, look at it again, bring it back to the position of no regard for somebody's direct danger in the open position, so they can see that it's not loaded again. And then you might, if you want to take a closer look at it, you say, "Sir, do you mind if I inspect the particular barrel of this firearm? I really would like to take a closer look at it."
Go on ahead.
That lets them know right off the bat that you're really interested in possibly buying this firearm, if it's pre-owned especially, that you want to inspect the bore and make sure that there's no wear in that particular firearm. So you'll go ahead and take it apart only with their permission, because at that particular time it still is their firearm. It does not belong to you. You've made no monetary transaction. From that point, if you know what you're doing, you'll go ahead and disassemble. If not, feel free to ask. I guarantee they'll be more than willing to help you. They want to make a sale as much as you want to buy that particular firearm. Stick it up in the air and inspect the bore, make sure it's not shot out or pitted, things of that nature, and then go ahead and reassemble. And if you have any questions, sir, I'm having a hard time putting this gun back together. I haven't owned one of these H&Ks yet. Would you have any particular advice for me? Yay or nay, they might add to that to you, and then go ahead and reassemble the pistol or rifle, whatever it may be at that particular time, and then go ahead and make your offer to purchase that particular firearm. But at that time and that time only would that be adequate to do so. So many times I've seen people, they want to right off the bat go ahead and disassemble the firearm and ask them if it's okay to, or not even ask them, just go ahead and disassemble it and start looking at the board. At the end of the day, there you go. At the end of the day, it's important that you ask these questions, because this tells that particular retailer that you have a working knowledge of firearms and that you respect their property before it is in fact yours. I had an uncle growing up that if you asked him to see one of his firearms and you said, "Uncle Paul, can I see that particular gun?" He'd break it up and here you go. "What are you doing putting your hands on the fluid? Your oils from the skin will rust that barrel." He was pretty extreme, but it did burn that knowledge into my head that you need to respect something that's not yours, even if you are looking to buy it. Now, I'm not a firearm retailer by all means, but unfortunately, when I am in stores, I do see this happen from time to time. It breaks my heart, and that's why I want to make this video today, to show people the proper way to inspect firearms, to receive firearms, and to give it back to somebody before you, in fact, purchase that particular firearm. So what I want to do now, I have a revolver.
There's a lot of people out there, Joe, that can definitely use this advice.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Very large demographic out there.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of people nowadays who want to buy and own firearms, which is by all means my quintessential of existing to some degree, but they don't know the particular etiquette that comes along with it. It's kind of like when you go to play golf. When you're on the green, if somebody's up to putt, you don't walk through their through line. You don't stand in the peripheral when they're trying to make that shot. Or if somebody's at the tee box, you don't talk while they're about to tee off. There's unspoken rules. And I guarantee you, if you start going by some of these etiquettes, when you go to particular gun shops or gun retailers, you're going to get treated a whole lot different. People are going to be a lot less wary of you when you're handling their firearms prematurely to buying them. And not only that, when they think that you know a little something about that firearm, they're a little bit more willing to give you a deal. They say, "Hey, this old boy knows his shit."
You're saying you might save some money.
There you go. So let's go over some of the firearm etiquette. Here I've got a bolt action rifle, I've got an AR-15, I've got a break action shotgun, I've got a lever action rifle, I've got a semi-automatic handgun, a pump action shotgun, and a cowboy action pistol. What I want to go over with y'all is some of the proper ways to ask somebody receive that particular firearm, talk a little jargon, and hand it back to them. So Dave, I'm going to walk you through it since you haven't had the opportunity to have your hands on a lot of these particular firearms. Here y'all is an AR-15. AR-15 has a charging handle. Also has a lever on the side. When you pull that charging handle back, you push that button in and it leaves it in an open position. When you hand it to somebody for inspection prematurely to buy that particular firearm and they start taking a looking at it, they will ask you, sir, do you mind if I cycle the bolt? Very powerful words. It doesn't say, sir, do you mind if I rack this sumbitch or something of that nature? They say, sir, may I cycle the bolt? And Dave, when you say that, you say, sir, do you mind if I cycle the bolt? And what they might say back to you?
Yes, sir.
What you're going to do at that particular point in time is press this little lever here. If it had a magazine in it, it's locked, cocked, ready to rock. In the safe position, obviously. But when you hand that particular firearm back to that individual, you'll pull back that charging handle, push that button inward, and hand it back to them. So here, Dave, I'm going to act as though I'm the store retailer, and you're going to act like you want to check out this firearm. I'm going to pull it off the rack.
Sir, you mind if I inspect that? See that firearm?
There you go.
AR-15.
Here you are, sir. AR-15.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. Nice gun.
Absolutely. And that's typically how you would do it. Now, if he wanted to cycle the action, he'd say, sir, do you mind if I cycle the action? No, sir, not at all. I'm here to sell a firearm today. Press the button, cycle the action, take a look down it in a safe point of direction. Before he hands it back to me, he's going to go ahead and charge that handle, make sure the position's in an open position, and hand it back to me. And that's how you want to do things. You always want to hand a firearm back in an open position, a safe position.
Makes sense.
Same thing with a with a break open. Say he comes in, he wants to see this break open firearm. I'm going to take it, I'm going to open it up, hand it to him. If he wants to look down the board or close the action, he's more than welcome to. I prefer that he ask me.
Sorry about that.
And then before he hands it back to me, I want him to hand it back to me in an open position.
There you go, sir.
Just like so. Perfect example, Dave. If somebody, typically 9 times out of 10, when you go into a firearm store, they're going to have the magazine and a handgun, but they're going to hand it to you in an open position. Inspect it with the pinky, double check.
Thank you.
Hands it back to me in open position. Proper etiquette. Lever action 30-30. I'll give it to him in the open position. At that point, he'll ask me, sir, do you mind if I cycle this action? No, sir, not at all. Closes it, opens it, lets the hammer down, brings the hammer back, opens it again, gives it back to me in open position. Here you are, sir.
Sir, you mind if I cycle the action?
Not at all. Feel free. Now, if he's really serious about it, he might even ask me, sir, do you mind if I feel what the trigger pull of this particular firearm feels like before I buy it? Because he might want to know what the particular trigger pull feels like before he dry fires it. And it's at that point my decision whether I want to let him dry fire my weapon or not. If I'm a retailer, 90% of the time, I'm going to say, sir, you go ahead and dry fire that particular weapon, as long as you don't do it too many times. And he might say, to make sure he likes the pull of that trigger, but only after he asks. Same thing with the cowboy action pistol. Now, if I'm a retailer and I hand somebody a cowboy action pistol in the open position, and the first thing they do is slam it shut and want to wide earth that son of a gun, I'm going to be a tad bit nervous. That's my firearm. That's my money he's holding in their particular hand. So that's not proper gun etiquette. But proper gun etiquette might be, sir, do you mind if I cycle this action?
Sir, do you mind if I cycle the action?
There you go. And then what he might do is check to make sure the cylinder isn't worn, things of that nature, through all positions, six bullet positions.
You know, this ain't that hard.
It's not that hard, is it?
Not that hard.
And then at the end of the day, when he hands it back to me, he's going to open the action, hand it back to me. We both know that the particular firearm's not loaded. However, he's going to take that next step forward to make sure that I know that he knows proper gun etiquette, proper firearm etiquette. So here you are, sir. You want to look?
Thank you, sir. You mind if I cycle the action?
Not at all.
You mind helping me out there, sir?
Not at all. So what you're going to want to do is wobble the cylinders, make sure that they're not loose,
Sure.
make sure they're in working order, and then when you return that firearm to that particular individual, you do it with the slot, with the ammunition entrance gate on the open position, so they can see that that particular firearm's not loaded. I know this might sound pretty crazy to most people, but at the end of the day, these little things make a hair bit of difference. You know, sir, may I see that Mosin again? By all means, take a look. I hope you buy it. Here you are.
You mind if I dry fire this weapon, sir?
Well, sir, on this particular Mosin again, this is a pre-World War II rifle.
Yeah.
So I'd rather you didn't, but what I can do is let you hold the action back while you slowly release it back.
Sure.
That might be a common response from somebody on an older rifle.
Right.
That's why it's always etiquette to ask them prematurely before you actually do it, so that you're not just taking it into your own hands to make the decision whether you're going to dry fire it or you're going to not. Some people might not know on an older rifle such as this, a pre-World War II rifle, that it's not the best idea to dry fire that particular rifle. Then again, you might want to ask them, sir, do you mind if I inspect the bore? Well, by all means, sir. Now, sir, I'm not up to snuff on my Mosin Nagants. I don't know exactly how to break down the action. Do you mind showing me? Typically, if they're a person that's selling that rifle, they're going to know how the action works. They're going to say, well, sir, what you're going to do is go ahead and let the bolt back to this particular position. Squeeze the trigger, the bolt's going to come out. From that point, you can look down the bore of the rifle, or they might have a bore light to where you can look at it the opposite end to inspect the bore and make sure that that's a particular rifle that you want to own. But that's why it's always better to ask permission than to go ahead and go forth and ask, what's the word I'm looking for? It's better to ask permission than it is to ask for an apology.
Makes sense.
After the fact. And last but not least, a pump action shotgun, when you hand that to somebody, you're going to do it with the action in the open position, hand it to that person.
Yes, sir.
They're going to ask you some questions.
So you're saying, Joe, some of the most common questions to ask for some of the new folks out there is, may I cycle the action?
There you go.
May I dry fire this gun?
There you go. May I inspect the bore?
Inspect the bore, right? Inspect
That's
the bore.
exactly right. And at that point, you might not be totally used to this particular firearm, but that particular person might at that point say, absolutely, Dave, if you want to go ahead and inspect the bore, we'll go ahead and take it apart for you. Only one time in my life have I ever had anybody who wouldn't let me inspect the bore of a particular firearm. This was a long time ago because they knew that particular bore was pitted and nasty looking on the inside and didn't want anybody to see so on the inside. However,
So you didn't want to buy a gun from them anyways?
there you go. And I walked out. And unfortunately, I bought plenty of firearms from them before they never did again retain my business. But that is proper firearm etiquette. At the end of the day, always ask permission. Never dry fire somebody's gun. Never slam the action to the shut position before asking if it's okay to do so. Always assume that that particular person doesn't want their action shut. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that it's a firearms retailer. It might be a friend of yours, or it might be a buddy's dad who's letting you inspect their pistol or check it out. You don't want to go slam it forward if they don't in fact slam it forward themselves. You want to let it down softly. You want to ask them before it's okay to cycle the action of that particular firearm. It's always better to ask than to ask permission than it is to ask.
Ask for an apology.
There you go.
Yep.
At the end of the
There
day,
you go. Firearm etiquette 101.
that is Firearm Etiquette 101. Well, from Red Horn Society, Dave Halley from Cali,
Thank you.
Joe Kabasinski, we want to thank y'all for tuning in. We want y'all to post some comments, like our page. At the end of the day, keep on tuning into Red Horn Society. We got a lot more videos coming out here in the near future. It's going to give you a lot of insight and a lot of education on firearms, archery, hunting, bow fishing, spear fishing, things of that nature. Keep tuning into Red Horn Society. Have a good one.
Thank you.